Here's an interesting thing about William Porcher Miles and many Southerners, is like a lot of people at this time, they didn't know about certain cultures that were yet to be discovered in Africa. As far as they were aware, no great civilization had come from Africa. They were all primitive, next to essentially cavemen technology. They were warring with each other, very primitive, not like the enlightened Caucasian race, which supposedly had gotten that way because of their devotion to the true path of Christianity. Which, as we see, there are passages that actually promote slavery and say it's okay to do things like beat them and give them stripes on their skin. But now we do know about nations. And just like this person from Charleston who did the shooting, he had a flag on his jacket of a previous racist white regime in what is now known as Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe itself has the ruins of a place called Great Zimbabwe, and it actually appears to have been one of the most advanced and well-structured civilizations at the time when it was at its height, and also probably one of the wealthiest, having a vast deposit of gold in the area with which it was able to utilize, either from getting it in trade or from mining it themselves. Kind of not sure on a lot of these things, but these are instances of ancient civilizations that I have started looking into, and I'll talk more about them in the future when I got the research down. But William Porcher Miles, people like John Caldwell Calhoun, they did not know about these great African civilizations. They thought they were primitive. And because they thought they were primitive, they likened this as to a perfect reason why they should be the masters and these other people should be the servants. Where do we find some of the biblical racism? Well, that's easy. This is in the story of Noah, where we meet Noah's 3 sons. And we find out that their descendants actually create the races that we know today. Their sons, of course, being Japheth, who is said to have been the progenitors of the Greeks, and by extension, possibly the rest of the Caucasian race. We have Ham, who was, if I remember, supposedly the progenitor of the Kush region, Egypt, Put, and Canaan. And lands included portions of Africa, Arabia, Syria, Palestine, and Mesopotamia. And then, of course, there was Shem. Shem was the one that became the progenitor of the Semites, essentially the people that would eventually turn into Israel, the people of Judea, the Jews, the chosen race, according to the Bible and Torah. Now, scholars have been noting that there is a little bit of a pun, a little bit of a play on the names of the sons written down in certain texts. And in that, it says that the descendants of Japheth, which would be the Greeks, would enslave the descendants of Ham, essentially the Canaanites. And for a time, there was actually slavery going between both groups. But let's remember that the Canaanites were also more than likely the Phoenicians, and the Phoenicians were also taking slaves and doing that. But they were kind of enslaving each other. Everybody kind of enslaved each other. Even the descendants of Ham enslaved each other. So the idea of saying that this was a prophecy, well, no, it was probably more of something that they wrote in there to be like, see, now it's happening. But they forgot the rest of their history, even though they were still doing it, because they still thought that they were the good people and that what they were doing wasn't wrong, whereas what the Greeks were doing to the Canaanites, well, that was wrong because they're foreigners, and at least the Canaanites are more like us. They live in the same area, so to speak. It's really weird, and there are a lot of people out there, religious fundamentalists and everything, and I've seen articles written by them talking about how because they're from a different line of the sons of Noah, that Asian people are obviously going to bring about the downfall and the apocalypse. These are absurd notions and everything, and completely fallible. And they don't really follow with genetic history at all. When we actually look at biology, we don't see 3 sons and everyone going to 3 sons. We see a much different path, and it's not related to this biblical flood story. We can't even find evidence for the biblical flood story. That's another nail in the coffin for why this is a false story. But it helped support ancient people's beliefs that other people, other groups were bad. If they weren't a Semite, a descendant of Shem, they were the other. They were the bad people. They were not the chosen race. And that is racist. It's a very dubious position when you don't tell your own people the full truth of the events and what things are circulating around, but you instead instill in them half-truths in order to put a spin that these organizations, these events were all done in the name of good and right, while not talking about the evils you actually performed. I mean, it would really suck if, some group actually started doing that today. Shit.
Hey, by the way, Mr. William Porcher Miles is buried in Union Cemetery in Union, West Virginia. I think everyone should go and piss on his grave. Do it. Do it now.
So you may be asking, why did the rebel flag actually lose the contest? Why did it not get chosen to be the actual Confederate flag? Well, may have mentioned this earlier, but it's been a while, so I'll refresh your memory. It's because the people wanted to build a new nation and saw themselves as patriots of this new nation. And they wanted it to look similar to their original American flag. They chose the stars and bars. So let's remember, these people started a new nation with the idea of being moral while still having slaves and being able to treat them like cattle. And you're going to still use this flag to say it shows pride and honor? That's messed up. Seriously, dude. Pride and honor? You're prideful that the people that waved that flag into battle because it got chosen by the units in North Virginia to be their battle flag? You're gonna wave that around and say that you're prideful that those people defended other people's rights to have slaves and to treat them no better than a disobedient dog under the care of Michael Vick? I mean, what the fuck? Seriously. You're insane. They call me mad. That's not cool, guys. Not cool. Don't do that. That's bad. You don't treat people like that. You don't lash them. You don't scar them.